Being awake in the digital circus for more than just a few hours could do a number on someone's mental health. The non-Euclidean architecture, the oversaturated colors for, well, everything, the wooden mannequin NPCs who just acted odd all the time, and the bright, invisible lights that prevented the creation of shadows. It was an overstimulating torture that should make the stay, that at least on paper should be very pleasant. No need to sleep, no feeling of hunger, and getting tired was only temporary as stamina was quickly regained by simply breathing. It was torture. And it was the sudden absence of any logic the human brain was accustomed to that was so damaging to the human psyche. After all, how do you explain the absence of hunger? After all, you're either hungry or not hungry. Or how do you comprehend not feeling sleepy even after 24 hours of running, walking, and in the case of the adventures, that can pan out for days by Ringmaster Kane, working? These weren't of course things your brain actively thought about, but smaller, minor details that crept up on you. This constant feeling of things being off that wasn't going away anytime soon. That's why it was so important to your fellow character Ragatha to have a schedule. As the one thing that everyone was afraid of was this vague threat of abstraction. You had seen abstraction firsthand when Kaufman went crazy, but again it seemed too vague. And without a one-and-done explanation, you just weren't happy. Though just grumbling all the time as you tried to make sense of something eldritch and otherworldly, as the concept of abstraction would probably turn you into a boring, grumpy lady that refused any input other than her own. And, well, you already had Zubul fulfilled that role. Well, either way, while abstraction was an interesting subject, you definitely understood that it should merely remain as a subject to talk about. Experiencing it, abstracting yourself, might as well be a death sentence. So you simply had decided for yourself that you'd be playing your role, while entertaining yourself with things you enjoyed in between. According to Kane, the digital circus seemed to have been created for the entertainment of an unseen entity, or maybe even entities. Not himself specifically. And if these entities wanted to be entertained, you'd do your best to fulfill that premise. And hey, if everyone was set up with adventures, you might as well be the one who actually tried. Today had been another Monster of the Week type adventure. Kane had let loose an entity that hid in paintings, which was a problem, specifically to you. Since the digital circus prevented you and the others from getting tired and sleepy, it was incredibly difficult to go to bed and just close your eyes for hours. And so you had taken up the hobby of painting, as that was just boring enough to get you into a state of constant yawning, as you really didn't have the patience to draw. Which was, thankfully, super easy for you, as it seemed like the digital circus had given you a body specifically for the activity. However, this adventure made drawing a danger. Your body had the appearance of a mostly monochrome clown figure, making you really stand out from the others and the colorful surroundings. You had a big black round nose, a short white bob cut, wore silly balloon pants with long shoes that had small belts at their tips, a tight long arm shirt with 3 round balls as its buttons that accentuated your feminine figure quite well. And your fingertips, when taking your gloves off, ended in differently colored crayons. So of course, you had an issue with a monster that jumped from picture to picture. as according to Kinger, who always was a wealth of knowledge regarding this stuff, to defeat the painting jumper, the paintings the jumper was residing in needed to be burned. Only then the adventure counted as completed, and the threat of this devious little gremlin was gone. But what threat really was there? Well, you and Pomni were first to witness its evil nature. The creature had been hiding in a painting of a single banana inside of one of the bathrooms. And while Pomni was distracting the furious bathing mannequin, you inspected the banana painting. And suddenly, without warning, it changed into the face of a screaming, blood-covered anime girl. It scared you so much you almost passed out. Essentially what this meant was that every painting now had become the equivalent of a terrible indie horror game with random jump scares. The next person to fall victim to the goblin was Gangle. She was curiously inspecting a painting inside of the living quarter hallway. And just as you and Pomni were rushing towards her to stop her from looking at the picture, the man depicted in the painting stared at the hapless theater mask before jumping at her. Of course, since he was a mere painting, he couldn't physically reach her, but it was enough to make her jump and break her comedy mask as she hit the ground. As you were helping Gangle up, Pomni angrily stared at the now no longer haunted painting. "Do you think we should just gather them all up?" asked the jester as her gaze shifted to you. But Gangle was the one to respond first. She sniffled and nodded. "That sounds like an idea," she said. But that's when you blushed. Sure, you weren't sure if your own pictures counted as paintings the entity could live in, but you definitely didn't want anyone to see them. So quietly you followed Pomni and Gangle into the stage area, where Jax was relaxing under an umbrella with a juice box in his hand. Where did he even get that from? "Where's Ragatha?" asked Pomni cautiously. Taking a sip of his juice box, Jax shrugged in response. Heard her screaming earlier." He pointed somewhere to his right. "Can you please help us?" asked Gangle. "We're trying to beat the adventure and we need help." Uh-huh. He sounded very disinterested. Angrily, Pomni stomped on the ground and pulled at her head, but you stepped between them before anything could go out of hand. "We're just, going to set beep on fire." Jax now looked at you before throwing away his juice box. "Setting stuff on fire was all that you had to say. I'm in." Your group picked up Ragatha and Kinger from a nearby closet. Apparently the chess piece was so scared that he didn't dare to look at anything 2D. Zubul, however... Meanwhile, Zubul herself was completely boycotting the adventure and had just locked herself in a room. Oh well, not like you needed her anyways. Over the next hour, everyone split up into 3 groups. You with Jax, Pomni with Ragatha, Kinger with Gangle, to collect all the paintings scattered around the digital circus. If the art goblin wasn't caught easily as it teleported from painting to painting too quickly, well, might as well burn them all at the same time, right? Screams echoed throughout the entire complex for almost the entire day, as painting after painting was taken out of room after room and placed right outside the digital circus. Exhausted, and now quite resistant to nightmarish visuals accompanied with mechanical screeches, you and Jax stopped in front of your door. Your hobby of drawing being kinda known among your fellow characters. "Are you sure we have to do this?" Jax shrugged. "Actually, I don't know, but Better safe than sorry, right? Well, that's what Ragatha would say, at least. I don't really care. I just want to see a big old fire. Though as you continue to hesitate to open your door for him, he just put in his own copy of your key that he had made himself. Are you serious? You shouted in disbelief. I was about to reach for my own key and open it. You just ruined the moment. He shrugged. Yeah, well... Too late. As he pushed the door open. He snickered as he pushed the door open. God, why are the girls' rooms always so tidy? He complained, as he started ripping your pictures off the wall. Hey, you complained. I like it tidy. I hate stepping on stuff at night. Right. He tore off one of your newer pictures and finally cared enough to take a look. Even with the turbo wax crayons at your fingertips, they were surprisingly detailed. Maybe middle school to early high school level. Nothing to make money with, and clearly a lack of passion behind them, but they were serviceable. I'm more concerned with the amount of drawings you have. He looked at the walls. Well, I mean, this is far less than I anticipated. You bit your lower lip, a gray blush appearing on your cheeks. I don't draw that much. Right. You know, he tore off another as he spoke, crumbling the paper and shoving it into his overalls pockets. You seem very okay with this, by the way. I thought you'd be crying buckets over this. I vaguely remember the tantrum one of Kane's NPCs had when I accidentally touched one of his paintings with my hand. Ugh, it wasn't even dirty. He chuckled at the memory. Some artists just aren't too proud of what they draw. Right. He ripped off the last picture. Anything else? No. He nodded quietly before walking over to your bed. Jax, there's nothing. What are you doing? With an even smile, he reached under your bed and pulled out a large metal case. Seriously? You still haven't realized I'm talking about these? You fell down on your knees. How did you? I have a key to your room. And I saw you depositing them here a few days ago. Now, what could you be hiding from me that you don't want me to throw into the fire? You ran towards him only for Jax to stretch out his leg. You're running straight into his foot. Ow! His foot kept you far enough away from him for Jax to open the box. And the bunny's eyes widened. Whoa. Inside were pencil sketches, works of questionable art that had actual effort put into them. Though what they were depicting made Jax burst out into violent laughter as he held one up. Do you really think it's that veiny? You whimpered as you fell to your knees. Size is pretty accurate though. Please, stop talking. Me and Pomni, as if that would ever happen. You know, her chest isn't that big. Actually, she doesn't have a chest at all. Jax, please. The bunny man was in comedy heaven. As he had discovered your stash of raunchy pictures you drew whenever you felt like you were getting close to abstracting and needed to hyper-focus on anything but your current situation. Hey, here's one with me and, you. He stopped. There was a pattern in your raunchy art, and the art with you and him broke it. They were excruciatingly detailed when it came to the fun parts, were quite unromantic too, obviously only drawn out of sheer frustration, but the ones that depicted him and you, they were cute. Jax furrowed his brows as he looked at the whimpering mess you had become. With an almost unnoticeable frown, he put the pictures back in the box before kicking it under the bed again. Huh? I'm not going to burn them, he muttered as he scratched his neck. Only if the adventure isn't over by the time we burned everything else. Just, I have a question. You gulped loudly. These pics with me and you seem different from the others. Also, they're a little more numerous. He gave you a smug wink. Do you have a crush on me? He asked honestly and directly. Quietly, you nodded. I do. He sighed. Man, Kane is gonna be pissed. He chuckled. Shrugging, Jax got down on one knee, put a hand under your chin, and gave you a quick peck on the cheek. In disbelief, you stared at the purple bunny man. The spot where his lips touched your skin, it felt so warm. But he didn't even say anything. Just walked past your stunned form, out of your room. It took you a while to get back to reality. This had been way less humiliating than you had anticipated. If anything, you were a little aroused. Your gaze shifted from the door to your metal box. A lurid idea came to you. That in hindsight was kinda terrible, but hey, you are horny. Biting your lower lip, you sifted through the drawings, taking out the ones that you thought were the best, skipping the most experimental ones. You did to a neat stack of lewdness. Almost excited, you then shoved the rest under the bed. Clutching the drawings with you and Jax, you ran towards his door, where you slipped a few choice ones under it, before hiding the rest back in your room. You then joined the others outside, as you burned the paintings and pictures collected during the day. You looked over at Jax. He was acting as per usual, completely hiding the fact that he had seen your terrible, seductive secret. But once your crayon pictures were thrown into the flames, a loud gong echoed throughout the entirety of the outside, and the flames turned green. Whoa. Didn't expect that light show. I think that means that's it, shouted Jax as he looked at you and winked. Seemed as if your raunchy pictures were safe for now. As everyone returned to the stage area, Kane was completely and utterly exhilarated. He had expected the entire adventure to last for a week, but thanks to the, as he put it, undeniable teamwork and friendship displayed by everyone today, the adventure could be beaten in just one day. He applauded everyone, and spawned in a feast in the form of a chocolate fountain with fruits, but also a projector that showed an old black and white cartoon without any sound. Kane playing a piano in tandem to what was happening on screen. Well, this was surprisingly cute, and a rather great reward for finishing the adventure. Though, the excitement wasn't over for you yet. As you thought about the pictures you had slipped under Jax's door, your eyes wandered over to him. He was devouring a chocolate-covered slice of honey melon, while his eyes were focused on the cartoon. You grinned in anticipation. You hoped he'd get the message. But as you were lying in your bed, an hour later, after the adventure, you stared at your door. Your heart pounding so loud it was almost deafening. But Jax was a no-show. Your cheeks blushed as you slowly got out of bed. Well, if he wasn't in the mood, you could at least get your pictures back. With shaking legs, you left for your door. But as you gently knocked on Jax's living quarter, its door slowly swung open, like it wasn't even closed. And your right eye twitched. Jax was lying seductively on his bed, one leg pulled up, overall pulled down to his hip, candle lights behind him. "Hey there," he purred. "Finally, it's you."
What does finally mean?"
He shrugged. "Pomni wanted something, but she found me like this." "Don't worry," she laughed. She slapped your hands on your face. "Oh, God. It was like you were embarrassed for him." "Well, why are you here?" You stuttered. "I assume you're not just here to draw me like one of your French boys, His seductive hum made your mind melt. "You know, you could draw after the model for once. Or maybe experience it firsthand."
If this is a joke, please stop. Because if you just stop and start laughing at me, I don't think I could take it."
He licked his lips and got up on his knees, pulling down his overall, until... You whimpered, putting your hands over your mouth to stop yourself from squeaking. Your eyes wide in aroused shock. "Well, does this look like I'm joking?" "Come here."
Thank you to the people who are supporting me on Ko-fi. You guys are keeping me alive.